This week, this Shabbat before Yom Kippur, this year it falls just before Yom Kippur. Normally, Hazinu, this parsha, is read between Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. But this year particularly, it falls just on Shabbat before Yom Kippur. Parsha Hazinu. It's a very unusual parsha. It's written in poetic form and actually written in the Torah in 2 columns. And it starts like this. Listen, O heavens, and I will speak, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth. Moshe's swan song, Hazinu, begins, and this parsha is the poetic covenant which Moshe Rabbeinu caused the Jewish people to enter on the day of his passing. It's actually written in the Torah in 2 columns, as I just said, like a poem. It's divided in 4 sections. God's kindness to Israel, the first section. The second section is Israel's rebellion, that we are stiff-necked and difficult people, and we know that. The third section is God's vengeance against Israel for our rebellion and poor behavior. And the fourth part is God's vengeance against Israel's enemies. Rashi's interpretation of this is Moshe is calling on heavens and earth to be his witnesses to this covenant. They are the Eidim, the witnesses, as well as the executioners to this covenant. They will provide the rain and food if Jews behave, and they will punish with drought and famine if the earth not producing if Jews behave otherwise and not follow the Torah laws. As per Jewish law, as Halakha says, this is the exact purpose of witnesses in court, to testify and to punish the guilty party. In absolutely majestic language, Moshe breaks into this song, investing his final testament to the Israelites with all the power of his passion in his command. And he continues in the following words: let my teaching fall like rain, and my words descend like dew, like showers on the grass, like abundant rain on tender plants. And basically, this is the content of this parsha. Just let's think together for a minute. Just imagine that you are like Moshe, and you are 119 years and 11 months old, nearing your 120th birthday, and this is the last day of your life, you know, the 120th birthday just on this day. And you know Hashem told you that your lifetime project is not complete. The people you led over 40 years have complained about you and your decisions and your behavior, criticized you many times over those 40 years. Your brother and sister who were sharing the burden of leadership with you for most of those 40 years have passed away. And you know that neither of your children, Gershon or Elizar, will succeed you. Your life seems to be coming to a very tragic end. Your destination is unreached. Your aspirations unfulfilled. What do? We can imagine a range of responses. You could sink into sadness, reflecting on the might have beens, whatever could happen if you made different decisions in the past or the destiny took different direction. You could continue to plead with God to change his mind and allow you to enter the promised land and to cross Jordan, obviously. Or you could retreat into the good memories, like many of us do. The good times when people sang a song on at the Red Sea, when they united as one soul and one heart at the foot of Mount Sinai were receiving the Torah, or when they built the tabernacle and brought all the presents and all the donations, which were far too much more than Moshe was asking them. This would be the normal human reactions. But Moshe, our greatest leader, did none of these things. And what he did instead is help to change the course of Jewish history, and I think the history of all humanity. Because what he did is he changed jobs. Let me explain. During the last 36 days of his life, Moshe assembled the Jewish people on the east side of Jordan River and addressed them. Yes, he is building the Jewish community by recovering the extraordinarily wide range of aspects of Jewish history of the past, but more importantly, he sets a set of blessings and narratives providing prophecies and warnings for the future. All of his last testament, last song, constitute the most comprehensive and the most profound vision of what it is to be holy people, dedicated to God, constructing a society that would stand as a role model to the rest of the humanity, how to combine and find the right balance between freedom and law and order and justice and compassion and individual dignity and collective responsibility. Isn't that relevant to us today? In the past months of his life, and specifically in Ha'azinu song, he changed his careers. He shifted his relationship with his people, with the Jewish people. He is no longer the Moshe liberator or lawgiver or worker of miracles, and most importantly, the link between people and God. He became the figure known in Jewish literature and in our collective Jewish memory as Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe our teacher. He wanted the people to understand that Judaism is not a religion of mysteries, intelligible and understandable to only few. It is, as he would say in his very last speech, an inheritance of the entire congregation of Jacob. Moses became, in the last months of his life, the master educator. In these addresses, he does much more than just to tell the people of what the law is. He just explains why and how the law must be followed. The law is as it is because of the people's experience of slavery and persecution in Egypt, which was their tutorial in why we need freedom and why we need law-governed liberty. Time and time again he says, you shall do this because you were slaves in Egypt. And he says they must remember and never forget the two verbs that appear many times repeatedly in the whole book of Devarim. Where they came from, they must remember where they came from and what it felt like to be exiled, persecuted, and powerless. But most of all, Moshe says to them, and to us today, the message is still very strong and very relevant. Slavery was easy. The freedom, the wealth, and the power to manage all of this would be much harder and much more dangerous, because it's much easier to forget where you came from and who you are when you are comfortable and wealthy. At this defining moment of his life, Moshe understood the truth that though he would not physically be with people crossing Jordan and going into the promised land, he would still be with them in their minds, in their hearts, intellectually and emotionally, if he gave them this song, the teachings to take with them into the future. You can imagine the importance of this parsha of Ha'azinu. Not only does he become the teacher in Devarim, in words engraved in the Jewish hearts ever since, he tells the entire people that they must become a nation of educators by saying, make known to your children and your children's children how you once stood before the Lord your God at Horeb, which is Mount Sinai, which is my minuscule way I'm doing right now. I'm sharing with you whatever I learned. He created his legacy in the united memory of all humanity, and by doing this affected the whole course of Jewish history and history of whole humanity on the whole planet Earth. Jewish faith is not easy. It's very difficult. But it has had the effect right through the history of leading us to say, if bad things have happened, let us blame no one else but ourselves. And let us labor to make them better. It was this that had led Jews time and time again to emerge from tragedy, shaken, scared, limping like Jacob after his encounter with the angel, or the Holocaust survivors, whoever survived after this horrible tragedy which taken place on the last century. And yet they survived and they didn't look back. They yet resolved to begin again, to rededicate themselves to life. They started rebuilding their life. They started rebuilding with the mission and faith to recognize their achievements to God. All positive achievements are attributed to God, and recognize that their failures are only results of their own mistakes. Out of such humility comes out our strength and ability to stand even alone against the whole world, like Abraham did, and to fight for what we believe is right, fight for justice, for us, for the whole world, for the future of our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and many generations. May you have an easy fast through Yom Kippur, and may you have nice Shabbat just before the Yom Kippur. Eat well. It's a big mitzvah to eat before Yom Kippur. Shabbat Shalom.